So today we decided to make a short video about how we met and about how we feel like it's nothing that we did just because of, we were from two different countries and we live 400 miles apart. There's pretty much no way that we would have met each other outside of the hand of God bringing us together, I think. So I guess we just decided to make a short video about that today. And
700 kilometers.
Yeah, that sounds much farther than just 400 miles.
But one of the reasons I thought that it would be cool is we're asked a lot, like, oh, how long did you guys know each other? And we keep giving the same standard answer of just under a year. And we've been saying just under a year for, well, just under a year. And I think like Jesse said, I think for me, my main reason of wanting to put this particular video out, other than it's just, to help people with their curiosity of like, who are these people, is that it happened so quickly for us. And as Jesse said, it felt so out of our hands. And we've seen it happen to a few other people in our lives recently too, where like 1 minute they're single and not looking, and the next minute they're in this God-centered relationship. And my thinking, I don't know if it's in any prophetic book. I don't think it is, but my thinking is that as I'm quite sure we're, in the end times, or at least approaching them, I think our Father wants us to be with somebody for the most part. And I think that there are a number of people that I know, and maybe that you know, who are frustrated or sad or whatever, that they don't have somebody. And I guess just to say that it can happen more quickly than you would ever imagine.
Yeah, I see people all the time on Facebook, and they say that, and they don't have a fellowship, or they don't have a significant other or anything, and they just always talk about how they feel alone. And I don't think that God wants us to be alone, whether that's alone not in a committed relationship with somebody, or not, or alone as in outside of fellowship with other believers. But I don't think God wants either of those things for us. So,
and we had yesterday our first online Saturday Sabbath fellowship, and that was what prompted this video too, is because it was so awesome, because there were people there from New Zealand, England, Canada, the States, and it was just testament to the fact that we are all scattered. So that has to be in the Bible. I'm sure of that, that a remnant will be scattered in the four corners. And it was really proof yesterday. And most of the people who were there, everyone, all of us were saying the same thing that Jesse just said, is that the lack of fellowship. And like for many of us, it's, you can try to go to a particular church, but when the message is not coming through in a way that resonates for you, at some point you got to bounce, whether you get kicked out or you just can't handle the lies anymore. So then you unfortunately find, and I was warned, you continue down this path and it's a lonely path. You better just at least pretend to believe what other people pretend, or you're going to end up on your own. And I'm very much on my own. I have this wonderful man beside me sometimes, but we do live hundreds of miles or kilometers away from each other. But I guess that's not the point of what we wanted to say. We wanted to rewind a little bit to not even that long ago, right? In the summertime. So in end of July 2024, we were in a Facebook group together. It wasn't, when people say, how'd you meet? And I say online. We weren't on online dating. I don't know about for you, Jess, you can see in a moment, but like I had legit, for the first time in my life, given up looking for somebody. I had I have two children that are growing very fast. I was married, I was divorced, I started walking on this path, and I was in like a situationship. And I remember at one point I said, you know, it's either you or Jesus, and I'm choosing Jesus. And I think he was totally okay with that. And I just continued on this path, and I was very much, you know, in the back of my mind and heart, I was like, oh, I really, really wanted somebody that I could read the Bible with, and I wanted somebody that would teach me about the Bible. I definitely didn't want to meet a guy who I was going to have to convert or anything like that. But I put it aside because it was, for the first time in my life, searching for a man was not my priority. And I was just really seeking, and Jesse and I were in the same Facebook group for kind of, you know, definitely for truth seekers, Torah observant truth seekers. And I don't know, were you looking for anyone at 33 years old?
No, I pretty much felt the same way. Like I figured that if God wanted me to meet somebody, then I wouldn't have to try, you know. And that's exactly what happened. You know, I ended up being right, I guess. Within the span of less than a year, my life totally changed from then to now. So, but we were in the same Facebook group, and we had a couple of back and forths because Jenny was in there asking questions all the time, and of course I was answering some of them. And
I want to go back and see what they were. I don't know if they were super naive questions or what, but I had this like revelation, and a mutual friend of ours now, John, put me in that group. Jesse had already been there. And I wonder what the questions were, because I mean, if anybody who knows me in real life, I ask 75 million questions all the time. I'm super curious. And then I found this group of people who seemed to have a similar outlook on life and similar background, and again, truth seeking, and like being what I would say awake, not woke, awake. And Jess was for a period of time was answering a lot of the questions, but like he wasn't trying to cruise me, he wasn't picking up on me, but he just like had this way of answering. I could tell that he knew his Bible really well, and that he had been down a number of rabbit holes, and he actually saved me from going, and he still every day saves me from going down a new rabbit hole because he's been there and done that. But he had this picture. I think I can edit it into the screen. He had this picture of himself, and he just looked like this like brooding, I think just like this brooding tech or lawyer type, and it was a black and white photo, and it's very patriotic, and I was just like, I thought like for
my
sure
8-year-old profile picture.
It was from eight years before.
It was from a while before. It was from like 2018 or something like that.
But you looked older. You looked like a 45-year-old brooding like boss guy.
Yeah, so I guess I was more, because I didn't have a wife at that time. I was just a single guy with a ton of free time, so I was always in the group answering people's questions and having discussions about X, Y, and Z with whoever. And it was like the only Facebook group that I ever went on. It was the Kingdom Crew group. I'm sure a lot of people know about that group. It was like the only Facebook group that I was active in. So like I could have been active in any other group, you know, and instead I was active in that one.
I wasn't in any other Torah groups at all. I didn't know anything about this world.
Mm-hmm. And you got like accosted by some
but it wasn't even
name person.
That wasn't even in that group. That was on my. So somehow I suppose probably okay. I saw your brooding profile picture and asked to be your friend, and then one day I posted about Jesus on my Facebook wall, and I did it intentionally, even though I was starting to become sure that our Messiah's name is not actually Jesus, a Greek name with the letter J. But I didn't care too much, and I still do, and will still continue to use the name Jesus for various reasons. In that capacity, but this girl came and it felt like she was telling me I was going to burn in hell if I used the name Jesus. And
Pretty sure she used those words, actually.
that I was going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
So we all know, even for those of us who believe in the true name, there's a level of deception when it comes to telling people that they will burn in hell if they use the translated word of dirt pig. That was what it was. She told me that the name Jesus meant dirt pig. Mm-hmm. And Jesse just came in like a knight in shining armor on his keyboard warrior horse. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was like, whoa. It's like, whoa. Meat before milk. No, milk before meat. I think you said meat before milk, but you meant milk before meat.
I did.
But I didn't hold it against you because I knew your intention. I knew exactly what you're saying. And I really had this feeling of, oh, my hero. Like, I hate being accosted on Facebook, and it's happened for decades now. And I think you've gone through some of that as well. So you came and you rescued me from the crazy sacred namer. And then I think that was the point at which I was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, and it kind of just blossomed from there, I guess. We started talking back and forth
incessantly. I was on vacation. I was at my parents' house just like kayaking and stuff. And
I think once we started talking back and forth on Facebook, we kind of just didn't ever stop. And
there was not one day ever again from that first time we started talking.
Yeah.
And I remember one time he was like, okay, well, maybe talk to you tomorrow. I think he was trying to play it cool. And I was like, what do you mean maybe? I think we got married the week after that. No,
oh, man.
But what a blessing. What an absolute blessing. My life 180'd. Mm-hmm. Absolutely 180'd. I mean, it did for both of us, and we didn't meet until
it was a couple months later.
September, maybe, in person. So we talked every day for maybe from July to September. We had our first date at a church in Syracuse. It was so awkward. I was so shy and embarrassed.
I was too, actually.
And I was like, oh, wow, you're so tall and your hair's so long. He had really long hair.
Yeah, back then I had hair down to like past my shoulders, actually.
And we hung out in that Sunday church while they told us that the sermon was about what to do when somebody in the congregation, like he literally used the word backslides and believes that they're back under the law and they can't eat pork anymore. And we were both just sitting there. Like, I remember at one point my shoulders were shaking. I was laughing, but it was such a beautiful experience. And we had this older man tell us his life story about his wife and how, she had just passed away, and he recounted the whole story about how they had this beautiful God-centered marriage for 100 years, and he wished it for us, and we were standing there like, I was bawling my eyes out, and it was just it was an inappropriately close moment for people who were on their first date, but like, I knew the guy wasn't wrong. I knew we were headed into marriage.
Yeah.
And we went upstairs, we had a coffee with some random guy. Like, when two new people show up at a church and they have no idea what your deal is, they came and sat with us and chatted. And
the one guy was from Canada, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, there was a Canadian guy.
And we asked him for recommendation of where to go, because I'm not from Syracuse, and obviously Jenny isn't either. So, and he gave us a recommendation for a place that we could go and hike, and then a place that we could go get ice cream or something like that, I think. Then we asked him where we could go and get ice cream.
Yeah, and that was the date. It was not well. I remember being a little horrified that you hadn't like meticulously planned the whole date out. It was such a...
I don't ever plan anything.
But because previous to that too, it was like, I think it was a week before we had intended, because I happened to be in the States. I'm never ever in New York, but I had a family that I was helping as a nanny who I hadn't seen in a year. We sat down beside each other at the park as a fluke, and the mom was like, hey, can you come help us out 2 weeks from now or something? in the States. It wasn't near Syracuse. It was 2 hours away. So basically Syracuse was the meeting place between where Jesse lives and where I happened to be on a Sunday morning because I was there for the weekend. And I asked Jesse if he wanted to meet, and you said yes, but like I think you again were playing it cool. And then like at some point I asked, I'm like, well, was it a date? And then what did you say?
I said, do you want it to be a date?
And I was so offended because every part of me wanted it to be a date, and then I thought I got friend zoned by this guy, and I was like, okay, but it would be really weird if we were two single Christians talking at this frequency and now he's friend zoning me. What is going on?
I guess sometimes you don't know. just because you've become friendly with somebody and like even you've become friends with them doesn't always mean that, because I mean I've had high frequency conversations with women before, and then you get like you get under the misconception that it's going somewhere, and you're like, hey, you want to go out on a date with me some point, and they're like, what are you talking about, so I've been
there before
conditioned
too.
to just assume that it's, I don't know, I guess.
So you were erring on the side of caution. So you didn't want to be embarrassed if you were into me and I wasn't into you.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, I thought that we were both into each other, but...
In the off chance that we weren't.
Yeah, I just don't like to assume things either. So for me to assume that we were going on a date would have been very presumptuous of me, I feel like. So
I presumed and assumed. I was totally okay with it. And it was the best date. It was the best date of my entire life. Like, I'm sure we've done fun things since, but they're all a blur compared to that first date. It was like church, and then we went to this amazing Waffle House that was super funky. Remember?
Funkin' Waffles in Syracuse.
Funkin' Waffles. The music was great. And then it was still awkward. I still had butterflies in my stomach the whole time, and went on a nice hike. And I don't know how much of this is too intimate. Mm-hmm. It's all right. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't intimate. He didn't even kiss me at the end of the date, but I did manage to grab onto his hand as we were walking, hiking through the forest together. And man, I have such nice memories. The sun was shining. It was like such a beautiful, beautiful day. Yeah. And then we got back I had left my car at the parking lot, and we took Jesse's car, and I had left it in the church parking lot, and they had repaved the entire...
I forgot about
the entire parking lot. My car was just parked in the parking lot, and everything around it was new tar. It was so weird. It's like, what happened? And I remember feeling nervous about my car. I'm like, do you think I can keep it? It's like, oh yeah, it's a church. It's fine. Like, what's gonna happen to it? So at least they didn't tow it. Yeah. So I guess fast forward, whatever, that was a great date, and then it just became that we would see each other as often as we could, and then maybe after seeing each other 5 times, Jesse proposed. Might really just have been that, huh?
Yeah, it sounds kind of it sounds a little strange when you actually put a number to it, but yeah, that's pretty much
probably
what it
after
was.
5 dates he proposed. But again, we knew, like, there was not even I knew immediately, like, I've never...
And we talked every day for, 10 hours a day, probably.
Yeah, and about all the things, and I think, too, I guess the whole point is when your main interest is reading the Bible and understanding the Word and, like, progressing on that path, when both of you are virtually obsessed with that as a shared passion, it's like that's what's going to happen, right? And we've just had so much help this entire time. It's been like the little miracles and the not so little miracles. Like, it's difficult being in 2 countries and having like an issue at the border, and we're just watching God help us through the entire thing. And it seems, again, people think it's crazy. I don't know about for you, but when people realize how often we travel back and forth, like sometimes all the way on the 7-hour drive, and sometimes, like right now we've met halfway to cut down on the driving over the weekend. But people think it's crazy, but it just seems...
Some people do.
Some people do, and some people get it, and And one of the women we fellowshipped with yesterday, they had a super similar story of the two countries and getting engaged after 4 months. And I guess I'm thinking that we're not the first and last people that are going to go through this, because it's I guess when it's meant to be, that you do get in those situationships, or you get in those, like Jesse's saying, like, oh, you think it's going somewhere and it's not. But for me, it's become like this: when you know, like, now that I know what it feels like, I would never have allowed myself to be in any other situation ever where one person is, like, where there's an imbalance. Like, it's like completely, everything is straight down the middle, reciprocated. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. So probably we make people feel sick to their stomachs. I think that comes from probably from jealousy. I know that when I was single and wanting somebody in my life, and I saw happy couples around me, it made me really angry. It really was a feeling of jealousy. And now I know that happy people are happy for people, and sad people, everything makes them sad, and traumatized people traumatize other people, hurt people. And we also are so blessed to have people around us who are just so supportive and stoked and helping us, and renewing our marriage vows for us, and all of these things. So I don't know, I guess I just wanted to leave people on some kind of message of hope, especially for those people who are seeking the Lord, and also hopefully seeking somebody to have a few more seasons of summer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that they've almost given up hope. From what I've seen, it seems to be a lot of there's like a lot of older people who they've just been alone. Like, they were married before and got divorced, and then they've somehow come onto the Torah observant path, and they haven't been with anybody in 10 or 20 years. So it's been a long time, and I feel kind of bad for those people. Like, some of them don't have anybody that's close by that they can talk to, or that they can be friendly with. They got kicked out of their church, or they got kicked out of their local fellowship, or they, whatever happened. And so they have literally nobody. So they go online to, like, fellowship groups, or like just groups like Kingdom Crew, where it's not exactly a fellowship group. It's just people kind of talking back and forth, and then that's the only contact with like-minded people that they have. So I think without groups like that, we would have never met. And I guess we just wanted to say that God can work overnight, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it. One day you can be single and sad. Not that everybody who's single is sad. I was not sad before I met you. I was in like the very great season of my life. Whatever, single, sad, happy, whatever. But I think that it seems to me right now he's bringing people together, and he's bringing people together very rapidly. One woman I follow who left the New Age and was quite public. She was very public about someone she knew who fell in love and had babies, and she's like, where's my Boaz? And then, like, one day I look at her Instagram story and she's engaged, and then 2 days later she's married, and now she's pregnant, and it's like, it's happening so fast. And it's sad for the people who make it seem like it's a bad thing we're rushing. What are we waiting for? Like, if you find somebody who you love and who's also has his eyes on the Lord, let's go, man. Let's do this. What are we waiting for? So
yeah, the same society that says you have to wait 5 years to get married, the divorce rate is like 75%. So I think we should just not listen to those people anymore, right? Because they probably don't know what they're talking about. But I think that's pretty much everything, right?
Yep. Well, like we said, we didn't really write anything
Yeah.
down or necessarily plan to do this in exactly this way this morning. So if you made it 25 minutes in to watch us blah blah about I would watch it. Look how cute he is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.